Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Global Career Forum, the international online recruiting event organized for the MBA students from top business schools. We welcome you to today's online session with European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and we have the pleasure to welcome for this live session our keynote speaker, Fiona Blackborough, who's Associate Manager in Recruitment at EBRD. As this is a live question, I do invite all participants to ask your questions in the Q&A panel on the top right side, and we will convey them to the speaker. Fiona, warm welcome.
Thank you very much, Zana. Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining me this morning. As Zana mentioned, my name is Fiona Blackborough. I've worked at the EBRD for 6.5 years now. So quite a long time. I joined the EBRD from another bank, from a large American bank. And what kept me at the EBRD is really the mandates that we have and the rewarding work that we do. And as you can see from the wall behind me, we very much promote flexible working as well. So I'm sorry that I don't have a grand busy office behind me today. I'm actually working from home, but hopefully you can all see and hear me well enough. I'm going to run through a brief presentation with you this morning. And then, as Zana mentioned, we'll be open for any questions. But just to run through an overview for those of you who don't know that much about the EBRD. Now, unfortunately, we can't play the first film there. What is the EBRD? However, if you go on to YouTube after this session, you will be able to find this short little film, which it's an animation, but it does give quite a lot of information about the EBRD. And indeed, you'll be able to find lots of information about our projects. Well, if you're interested in finding out more about us. Now, just as a bit of a potted history, the EBRD was set up 27 years ago this year, after the fall of the Berlin Wall. And we mainly initially invested in Central Europe and Eastern Europe. And then after the Arab Spring, we've expanded our operations into North Africa as well. Now, when we were set up as what's termed a sunset bank. So it wasn't anticipated that we'd be in existence for this long. We thought that we'd help countries, they would transition into free market economies, and we'd be on our way. However, that hasn't been the case. We've expanded more and more geographically. And at the moment, even though we don't know exactly what the future holds, we're certainly not going anywhere soon. And hopefully going to be expanding our operations further down into Africa, not just into North Africa. So from that perspective, it could be argued that the European aspect of our name is rather null and void these days. But obviously we can't go changing our name at this stage. So please don't think that we're purely based in Europe. Now, we are headquartered in London. And we have what we term resident offices in all the countries that we invest into. The resident offices vary in size. Some are staffed by just a few bankers and an office manager who manage the projects on the ground. Some are larger regional hubs, which have economists and lawyers as well. But mainly those teams are based in our London headquarters. So what are the EBRD's objectives? They're to promote transition to market economies by investing mainly in the private sector, to mobilise significant foreign direct investment, to support privatisation, restructuring and better municipal services to improve people's lives. And one of our biggest focuses of our objectives and our mandate is to encourage environmentally sound and sustainable development. And this just goes into a little bit more detail on that environmental mandate. So what areas could you join if you were to decide to come to the EBRD? Obviously, being a bank, our main key area is banking. We have a large human resource department, which I'm part of. We have a large office of the General Counsel, and that's lawyers who look after everything from projects on the ground, and they also advise some of our countries on legal reform and legal transition. So a multifunctional legal team. We have a department who look after the, we call it Environment and Sustainability Department, so they're very much looking after the sustainability of our projects. And we have a large team of economists as well, who will look at each project for its, what we call transition impact. So that's how much impact it's having on the local economy. But they do some really interesting, wide-ranging work out in our regions. Away from the day-to-day work, we host a lot of cultural events here at the EBRD. And it's a great opportunity to learn more about our region and our countries of operation in a more informal atmosphere. You can see here a music recital, and we quite often have art exhibitions as well from some of our countries of operation. And then we have things like running clubs, yoga clubs, and some more informal clubs as well. Something else that's increasing, and there's a picture here from our Women in Business programme in Morocco, and that's our small business initiative, and that's a strategic initiative to help small and medium-sized enterprises in the countries in which we invest to finance small businesses directly. And we don't just provide the finance and the money for them, we also provide policy and advice as well. So a really, really interesting area to be involved in if you want to get closer to those projects. So just a little overview here on what we offer. We offer a competitive-based salary, a performance-based annual award, good retirement benefits. I'll leave you to read the other bullet points there, but importantly, for anyone who is relocating from another area to one of our offices, be that the London headquarters or one of our resident offices, we offer relocation support, both financially and also help you with visas and with all the advice you need to really find somewhere new to live and to settle into a new location. So finally, for anyone who's interested in finding out more about the roles that we're recruiting for, there's a link here to our careers website. Positions are generally advertised on the EBRD website and through some other advertising channels for approximately 2 weeks. Now, the only restriction on working for the EBRD from a nationality point of view is that you need to be a national of one of our member countries. There are 68 member countries now, so please do refer to our website if you have any questions about that. It gives you the whole list of countries there, and that is, and you know, that's something that we unfortunately is set in stone, and we have no room for negotiation on that one. But hopefully you'll meet that criteria. All our applications need to come via our website, so please do apply online. And if you look at any one time and there aren't any opportunities at that time that fit your requirements, please do register for what we call our talent community, and then you'll receive email alerts as soon as any roles are posted that may fit your requirements. And if you have any individual questions, there's an email address there, talentacquisition@ebrd.com, and that comes through to a member of my team, and we'll come back to you as soon as we can with any specific questions. So thank you for listening to that brief presentation, and over to you for any questions that you have.
Excellent, many thanks. So again, a quick reminder to the attendees, any questions that you have, please ask them in the Q&A panel on the top right side, and we can address your questions to Fiona. Again, thank you for being with us here today. We have very first question asking, how has Brexit impacted your operations, especially that you are headquartered in London?
Well, isn't that the million-dollar question? We have a specific person in HR who's purely answering Brexit questions at the moment, but as we still don't know what Brexit is going to look like, then I really can't answer that. I can't answer that clearly. With regards to being in London, however, we are, being an IFI, we're kind of ring-fenced to a certain extent. So with regards to our employees, any employees, as I've mentioned previously, you know, everyone who works for us has to be a national of one of our member countries. So with regards to our employees, yes, it may be that we have some work to do around their right to work and visas, but everyone is safe from that perspective. We're a supranational organisation, so we happen to be in London, we happen to be headquartered in London, but we're not subject to London rules and regulations. So from that perspective, we're safe, our employees are safe. From the knock-on effects of our business, you know, nothing's done in London, so it's hard to know at this stage how much it's going to impact us, if at all. But most of the questions and the discussions that we're having internally aren't around our, you know, our operations and our business. They're mainly around our employees. But as I said, they'll be, you know, they'll be safe. We're not like other banks with regards to our right to work. So I'm sorry, that's a bit of a waffly answer, but we simply don't know. And that's my phone going. Bear with me 1 second. I'm so sorry. We simply don't know what the future holds for Brexit. So I'm sorry to not be able to give you any more information at this stage, but hopefully not too much impact in summary.
Excellent, thank you. You mentioned in the beginning that the bank wasn't set up to last this long. So a question coming in is, how do you see the company evolving? What are the plans for the next 5-10 years?
well, as I briefly mentioned, after the Arab Spring, we moved into North Africa. You know, who would have ever known that was going to happen? It's hard to predict the future of the world, but certainly there are plans for us to move further south into Africa. I know that's one of the geographical areas that, you know, that's under discussion that we're looking at the moment. So certainly our, you know, they're looking at expanding geographically. So hopefully from that point of view, we're not going anywhere soon. So we're just planning to expand both geographically and into different industries as well.
Thank you. What about the company and team culture? What is it like to work at EBRD?
Well, as I mentioned, I worked for a large American bank in London before, and we all think we're so multicultural living in London, but working at the EBRD really does take it to another level. We have, particularly at headquarters, we have nationals from every single one of our member countries. So as I'm sure you can appreciate, that's, you know, lots of different languages being spoken. It makes things really, really interesting. So as I mentioned, with regards to music and art, there's lots of things that we can learn about the culture. People enjoy what they do, and people like talking about themselves and what they do. So, you know, when I came into the organisation, I didn't know that much about development. Even some of the countries that we worked in, you know, I couldn't pinpoint them on a map. But people are very keen to share their knowledge, even with the most senior management. They will, you know, I'd say 99% of the time be happy to take time out to explain things to you as well. So it's a very open culture. A lot of people actually come to the EBRD having worked in the private sector and really want to come here to make that difference. So people are passionate about what they do, and with that brings that kind of, they want to share information. It's a very open and multicultural organisation.
Excellent, thank you. What about the type of the person that succeeds at EBRD? What are some key characteristics?
I would say that a real passion for what we do, an interest in our mandate, in the impact that the projects have, and also particularly on the banking side, willing to relocate as well. So you know, the main proportion of our employees are in London, but you'll see that senior managers, particularly on the banking side, have been very open to international opportunities as well. So if you have that passion to learn, and you're open to going to different countries, learning about the projects there, then that's certainly a way to succeed within the bank. But just being open, it's an ever-changing environment that we operate in, both from a geography and from an industry point of view. So keeping up to date with what's going on, being open to change as well, I'd say they are some key characteristics that would serve you well at the EBRD.
Thank you very much. A question from Yoons, who's asking if it's critical to have prior banking experience.
It really depends on the job that you're applying for. So, for example, even within our banking teams, if we are looking for someone who particularly can speak to engineers, for example, or they may be experts in wind power or hydropower or something, we have hired people with no banking experience to join banking teams when they have that specific industry expertise. In other areas, such as our legal team, or indeed in HR, not everyone comes from a banking background. So it really does depend on the team that you're looking at. But as I mentioned, even in the banking teams, that's not always necessary.
You mentioned before there are a lot of jobs on the career website. When we are looking at the jobs at EBRD, are all those positions based in London, and is extensive travels part of the job?
So on the EBRD.com website, all our opportunities are advertised on there, regardless of the location. We manage all of the recruitment out of our London office. So if you go onto the website, it should give you the title of the job and then the location of the role. Now, with regards to travel, it will depend. It's very much role specific. So some of the banking roles will involve a lot of travel out to see the projects in the region. From a recruitment perspective, I'm purely based in the London office and unfortunately don't get to travel out to the region. So with regards to the extent of the travel, that's very much role-based.
Perfect, thank you. So with this, we mentioned the direct career opportunities, but you also have the International Professionals Program, IPP, and may I ask what are the usual opportunities post-program?
Sure. So the International Professionals Program is a program that we run at the moment every 2 years. So we're currently recruiting for 10 individuals to join us this autumn. And it's an opportunity for early career professionals. So we're looking for between 1 to 2 years experience, and that's a maximum of 2 years experience. Historically, we weren't so specific about the experience that the individuals had. And because everyone, it's a structured 2-year program from a training point of view. And why we're being very specific about the experience now is to bring in these 10 young professionals very much on an even playing field. Now, it's a great program, but as I said, there's only 10 places every 2 years at the moment, so it's not the be-all and end-all of how to get into the EBRD. This year, those 10 individuals, 7 are going to be based in our banking teams, 1 in risk, 1 in our economics, policy and governance team, and 1 in HR and corporate services. And as I said, they will join for 2 years initially, and it's a rotational program during those 2 years, and they'll have 3 rotations through their departments that we call host departments that hopefully they'll end up in at the end of the program, and through another complementary department. So for example, if someone joined on the banking side, they might spend some time in risk. And then also a rotation out in the field in one of our resident offices. So yes, we're recruiting for that at the moment. When I looked last week, I think we had 1,600 applications for 10 places. So it does receive a lot of interest. But for anyone joining the bank through any other role, they'd be eligible to receive. We have a very supportive talent development team here. So all the training opportunities that are open to the IPs will be open to people joining us in other roles as well. The main difference is that rotational aspect of the programme.
Great, thank you. So having done a little bit of research on EBRD, I've seen that there are a lot of MBAs working at the bank. Are there specific schools that you look for, or are you open for good candidates from any school?
Yes, absolutely. We're open for good candidates from any school, absolutely.
Thank you. And if a person is interested to apply, once they submit in the application, what are usually the typical steps in the interview recruiting process? What can the candidates expect?
Sure. I mean, it does depend on the role. It is role specific. However, it would usually be an initial interview with the either the hiring manager or one of the team to determine technical skills. Then a wider interview with some more individuals in the team and with HR as well. We don't have, as I said, it's very much role specific. We have such a wide variety of roles here at the EBRD, but we want to make the process as simple and as time efficient for all people involved. So it's usually about a 3-interview process. Now, for very senior roles, there will be some further assessment from a leadership point of view. And for the IPP programme and some of our analyst roles, there's often some online testing as well. But usually it's straightforward interviews. If individuals aren't based in the role location, then that initial interview is likely to be by telephone or Skype. And then the shortlisted candidates would be invited into the location of the opportunity for a face-to-face interview.
Thank you. What about training and professional development? Do you have any training programs that are available to your employees?
Sure, we have a whole department called well, we're part of talent management, so talent development, and they host all our training programs. Now, when individuals join the EBRD, everyone has a 2-day program called Exploring EBRD, which introduces them to the organisation as a whole. We have a structured individual assessment every year. So at the moment, we're just setting our objectives for the year. So we've had our review earlier this month on last calendar year's performance. We're setting our individual objectives now for 2019. We will all have an individual mid-year review and then an end-of-year review. And as part of that review process and that objective setting, any training needs, any courses that will benefit our professional development are identified as part of that process, but it's something that we very, very much support. I'm afraid I don't have any figures from last year as to how many roles that we filled were actually filled by internals, but wherever possible, we do try to promote from within. Now, because we're expanding geographically and from an industry perspective, that's not always possible. So sometimes we need certain language skills or certain industry sector skills that we simply don't have within the EBRD at present. But as I said, we will always look to try to promote from within, and therefore our talent development department have things like, you know, leadership courses, management courses for those who are interested in taking their career path in that way. And then when an opportunity arises, for example, even if you don't have that management experience, then you've had some training to back that up and obviously give you a better chance of securing that role. So it's also down to the individual. So there's a whole host of courses that you can access online through our learning module. So, you know, certain emphasis is put on the individual as well, but it's something, as I said, that's captured as part of your formal annual review process. And it can be anything, as I mentioned there, from management skills, presentation skills, through to technical training, through to languages. Languages is something we very much support if people want to learn another language. So yes, something that's very much supported and very much a focus for the organisation.
Thank you. Just keeping an eye out, that basically is all the time that we have today for this session. I wanted to ask you a last question. Sure. If you have any basic last minute advice for the candidates that are interested to apply for EBRD positions?
Well, sure. We do, you know, I have to be honest, there are some roles that we struggle, but generally we do receive a lot of interest in our vacancies. So one thing I would say, either in your CV or in a cover letter, would be really to, even if you don't have the specific country, industry experience of that role, if you can draw any parallels from the experience, from your own personal interests, anything that kind of links you to the sector or the geography where that role is, then that's a way of making your application stand out. Do register for the email job alerts to keep up to date with vacancies as they arrive. And if you have any questions at all, you can always come through to me or to the talent acquisition inbox that we listed on the last slide, and then that will come out to someone in my team. So if you ever have any role-specific questions, then by all means get in touch with us. But, you know, to make your CV stand out, as I said, any parallels, any experience you can draw on that highlights your skills in relation to that particular role that you're applying for, from an industry or a geography perspective, would be beneficial.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Fiona, for taking the time to be with us here today.
No problem at all.
And we are going to put the recording of the session on the event website within a few hours. Thank you again. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you, Sana, for arranging everything. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.